What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Creating Wealth Podcast, where I, Kyle, from Curtin Real Estate, interview local top dogs in the real estate investing, wealth building, and personal finance industries. Let's build together. What's up, guys? The guest on this week's episode of the podcast has an extremely cool story with a really great beginning to his real estate journey. Gaetano is a super young loan officer and investor down in Connecticut, getting into some really big projects. This interview was a blast and had great tips, especially for those just beginning. In this episode, we get into investing in the path of progress, approaching potential partners for deals, direct-to-seller marketing, and so much more. There is a ton of super informative info in this episode, and I hope you enjoy. Let's jump right into the episode. What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 53 of the Creating Wealth Podcast. Today, we get the great pleasure of chatting with Gaetano Ciambriello. He's an amazing super young loan officer with AFC Mortgage Group, as well as an investor located down in Connecticut. I'm extremely excited to be able to talk with him today. What's going on, Gaetano? How are you, man? What is new?
Kyle, doing well. Thanks for having me. Was able to play a little golf earlier today with some clients out at Haven Country Club. It was phenomenal. I played awful, but it was still fun. Mortgage business is going great. Family's doing well, so can't complain overall. And then investing is more fun than ever.
Oh, I love to hear it, man. Today was a great day to play some golf, especially if it's the same kind of weather as it is up in Mass.
It was. It's that time of year. It was October 7th, where I woke up today. It was like 48 degrees, a little nippy. Some of the guys wore pants. You wear shorts, but by 1 o'clock, it was like 78 degrees out, and you're sweating. So
yeah,
beautiful day. Sun was out. It was good.
I know, you gotta love New England, man. It's crazy.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, so, to kind of jump right into things, man, what kind of gave you the real estate bug and like the loan officer bug, and tell me, kind of a little bit about your backstory and a little about you.
Definitely. So we'll start kind of, they play hand in hand. When I was born, my dad was working at Sikorsky down in Connecticut and went on paternity leave, started in the mortgage business. He started his own company a year later. So he's been a mortgage broker for the last 15 years, for 15 years. In the last 10, he became a lender and owns a mortgage lending company, which I work for. It's AFC Mortgage Group. So I grew up with my dad being in the mortgage business. So when I graduated high school, I thought about it, ended up going to college. When I was getting close to graduating college, I was thinking about it again. Ended up going to work in Manhattan, working on a trading floor for a year. Left that right after COVID hit, and then started full-time in the lending business, although I've been licensed for 3 years this month. In regards to real estate, yeah, right, man, time's flown by. In regards to real estate investing, my mom has invested probably since the early 2000s. So when I was 7, 8 years old, right before the crisis, like 04, 05, I remember going to properties that she owned and managed, and she definitely had trouble come 08, 9, 10, had to give quite a few of them back. But I grew up watching her invest. As I got back, or as she started investing again post-crisis, closer to when I was in late high school, early college years, it kind of sparked my interest, especially once I became full-time and employed, working at a bank and had W-2 income to go buy property.
Of course, man. That's incredible. That's like the best thing in the world to be able to come from that kind of background, where like your family is already in it, and like, you can just see this kind of thing, like just growing up and everything. That's phenomenal.
That's a huge point. Growing up with it, seeing, my dad in the lending business, then my mom investing in real estate, versus if I came into this green, I wouldn't know what I was doing. A huge leg up. And I appreciate it 100%. For having that experience, or wealth of experiences growing up, where I was put into these situations where I saw these opportunities.
Of course, yeah. And just to be able to kind of jump, right in with something like that, and just be able to run with it like that fast. I know that's huge, like especially getting into it or having it really start to spark your interest, in like late high school, like, extremely young, like super early and ready to kind of hit the ground running. No, how was it working on like the trading floor in New York? Like was it kind of like how you see in the movies or is that like not even close?
So funny. So get what movies are like, it's so funny because it's, if you watch the old Gordon Gekko Wall Street movie,
Yep.
or let's say like the Wolf of Wall Street that came out,
Yeah.
well, first off, nobody's on the phones that much anymore. They are, but a lot of it is over chat.
Yep.
So you pick up the phone, but it's not as hectic as it was. Um, it's great because there's a ton of energy on the floor. There's probably 300-400 people on the floor. You're sitting in a row of 12 to 15 people on your side and right back behind you. That part was awesome. You're definitely at the desk throughout the day. So it's not like my business now where I'm more flexible. I was playing golf earlier this morning with clients. So that was the one negative. But from the amount of knowledge you could pick up in a year or, your first couple of years, I still have a lot of friends that are working in Manhattan, still at the same bank I was at, doing sales and trading, and they love it. It's a great start coming out of college.
Yeah. That sounds really incredible, man. That's awesome. No, is
The
it
best
more
thing.
like, oh,
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead. I was going to say that the best thing about it is the amount of people you meet coming
Yeah.
out of college. I had an analyst class, I think 100 kids, and I still probably talk to 30 or 40 of them. And, they're from all over, Northeast, other parts of the country. They went to a lot better schools than I did. So to be able to like build that network, and then you meet their friends once you're going out, after work, all that, it's great.
That's awesome, especially being that like-minded and like, it's exactly, kind of like college, but, you know, with like an additional benefit, of being like just in the same field and everything and just so like-minded.
Yeah, 100%. And the people that I worked with, everybody was ambitious. So everybody had goals, things they wanted to achieve. So you're also putting yourself, like you said, with like-minded people that are also trying to either, whether it's setting themselves up for the long term or that next job they want to do, or the promotion,
Mhm.
everybody was hungry. So that was awesome.
Yeah. That's great, man. So did that kind of like obviously, you said that was like W-2 income and stuff, and now, eventually you were able to get pre-approved and stuff for your first property. Were you kind of like just waiting to like save up money and stuff like that for a while, like while you were working in order to buy that? Or were you just kind of, like working there for a bit, like learning a bunch of things and like enjoying the heck out of it, and like you just kind of found out you're like, oh, I can get pre-approved now and kind of jump into this. Like, did you
So,
kind of want to get into it for a while or?
well, good. So my junior year going into senior year, I did an internship there,
Yep.
and I was able to save a ton of money. I only paid for my rent. And I don't have many student loans. My parents, very grateful for that. They've paid for most of my college tuition.
Hmm.
So I was able to save a lot of money uh, during college while I was working. And then I bought my first investment property in April of 2020. I started working in right when I graduated around June of 2019. So I had about 10 months to save up while I was working at Citigroup. And I always knew I wanted to buy a property, but as the turn of 19 into 20, I really started gearing up and getting serious about it. I was always talking to my dad, what do I have to do to get pre-approved? Where do we stand? I was running numbers on myself at that point. I was licensed, so I remember going home and figuring out how much I qualify for. Um, but but the itch to buy something started around late 2019. After I've been working for 4 or 5 months, I was saving money, and I said, okay, now's the time I can go buy something.
Yeah. So what did you start off buying? Like, how did that kind of, start things off?
Yeah, so the first house I bought, well, the first deal I came across was in January of 2020. It was a single family home in Fairfield. My mom actually was investing in Fairfield Due Housing at that time. So I was looking at that market as well. She said it's a great market. You should check it out. So I go under contract, I signed a binder to purchase this house from a lady. Uh, 2 weeks pass, find out that she can't sell it because she told me something to do with taxes. I mean, I had a binder signed. I could have pursued it more. It probably was legally binding at that point. We weren't under contract, but a binder was close enough.
Mhm.
So January passes. That deal falls through. It was a single family, great area. I still drive by the house every day. Would love to buy it at the price I could have bought it for back in, 18 months ago. But like 2-3 months passed, and there was this house that was sitting on the market for 6 months or so. I probably looked at it 3-4 times just on the MLS. I don't know if you guys have that. It's like multiple listing service.
Yep.
And okay, awesome. So I was looking at it. I've passed it over. And then I want to say my brother one day, I was looking at him, showing him stuff, and he's like, "You should take another look at this." So took another look. I was like, "Oh, you know what? The numbers might work." Went to go see it. Layout was a little funky. It was kitchen, dining room, everything was closed off. You definitely needed to open everything up. Attic wasn't finished. Floors need to be replaced, but it was in a great location. So that was my first deal. That's when I ended up buying first. Long-winded there, but
No, that's great. Did you kind of buy it like with the intention of, just kind of like buying a house to kind of fix up and maybe like sell it off later on, or like rent it out to like buy the bedroom or something? Or what did you
yeah.
kind of
So
think about going in?
so my right away, I mean, like I have a philosophy, I'd say, with investing. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but any property I buy, I don't want to, I'm looking at it from a 10-year perspective or a 10-year hold minimum. So I'm not looking to flip anything, at least not yet. Anything that I am buying, I want to, if it's a value add, even better, to fix it up, build some equity right away, and turn it into a long-term rental. And that was the plan with this one. And that's exactly what I did. I bought it in April, hired a GC, opened up, demo, opened up a floor plan, redid the floors, and rented it out starting in June of that year. So, for people for the summer. So
Yeah,
that was the game plan.
that's a pretty perfect timing.
Oh, lucked out. I mean, don't get me wrong. That time from like April 1st to June 1st was hectic, making sure that contractors were coming on time, staying on top of GC, make sure the project was moving along. That was a job within itself. But once it was complete, it was like, thank God.
Yeah, I bet.
And luckily, I would say, I had my mom to lean on for that. She's done rehabs before for some of her buy and holds. And, if I didn't have her to ask questions or another mentor, that project probably would have been 4 months instead of 2.
Yeah. No, but honestly though, that's such a great thing, to kind of have like somebody, especially that close to you, to be able to ask those questions to, and be that mentor that's been through this a million times. And yeah, I feel like that's just kind of something that's like been extremely important, to just be able to have those people to ask questions to and everything. And just be able to get answers that fast.
That's huge. I couldn't agree more. And I think, an important thing with like mentors is always trying to have someone that is 1 or 2 steps ahead of you.
Yep.
It wouldn't be helpful for me to talk to someone who's runs a REIT. They would have no idea what they're doing with a single family house flip, let's say, or a rehab. But somebody that maybe owns X amount of units in the same market or a similar market, they're the right person to go to. So I'm trying to always find people that are 1 or 2 steps ahead that I can help them or they can help me.
Exactly, man. I really love that phrase. That's like, making sure that you're not the smartest person in the room. And like, if you are, like, keep going into those rooms that are a lot bigger, and like, those people who have done a lot more than you have, and like, are farther along the path than you are at the moment, just to, be able to give some kind of value to those people, and, just establish a good relationship there, and just to kind of keep moving up together.
Agree with that 100%. And the one thing I love about real estate, the more people you talk with, the more information you're going to get about the market. If you meet with people in the town planning and zoning department, if you meet people from the building department, even the finance department, where's the town putting money? Those meetings are free to have, but they're valuable if you're meeting with a lot of people, because then you could share that information. You might think, how can I help this person who's, worth X amount of dollars, so much farther ahead of me? Maybe you have information after having these meetings, though, with certain people in the town that you can then relay to them, and all of a sudden you become an asset. And then hopefully that becomes a mentor of yours, So trying to find ways you could help people other than money is something I'm always trying to look at too.
100%, man. I think it's been really interesting. Like, obviously, like most of us are in this kind of game for like financial freedom and like, to create these kind of visions and stuff that we have. But how much of it isn't like directly focused on money, but like indirectly focused on the process, I guess you could say. Like even
Yeah.
like you said, learning about like the path of progress, like where the city is focusing on, putting their money into, and like, how to get that information is insane. It's like insider trading, but it's completely legal and it's okay. It's free knowledge for everybody, and it's
Yeah.
I haven't actually been a part of any of those like town meetings or anything. Well, actually, I went out to one, but I don't know if I was in the right place.
What was the meeting for?
It was like a zoning board of appeals meeting for it was
Yep.
actually for the city of Lowell. It was on like Zoom, and
Hmm.
they were just like approving like certain projects, and like people would go in front of the board and stuff, and it was great. But like I was just kind of starting to look at like the path of progress like as something to figure out,
Yeah.
to maybe base some buying decisions off of, well,
Hmm.
add to things. But
Yep.
yeah, and like I don't know, even like for the city of Worcester, I found one recently. Like you literally just like Google it, like path of progress in Worcester, and they have like a bunch of maps and everything, and like certain parts are outlined, and like it's crazy, man. Like that type
They
of
tell you
information
exactly
is
what they're
nuts.
doing.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yep. That's so funny. Town of New Haven in Connecticut, same thing. I was talking to someone recently and looking at what they're doing there. Every town has like a path or a vision and plan for 5 or 10 years that if you talk to the town's finance department, I'm sure they'll, point you in the right direction on where
Yeah,
to get it.
exactly. And it's crazy to just have that like extra amount of information. I mean, like it's another piece of information that's really helpful.
You know,
To especially looking in like some of these cities that have, like a lot of different neighborhoods and stuff, and like you're not really sure where to buy, and like it's something else that's pretty helpful for kind of buttoning down a little bit on one specific area.
yeah, the one thing a person everyone should speak with is whoever is I don't know if you can speak to the head or not be the town as the associate or the deputy, whatever it's called, but the economic development department. They want to see the town grow. They want to see more tax revenue and more tax dollars come to the town. They're going to share information on what they think is best for the town in regards to generating that revenue. So if either corporations are coming to town or they want to see development, whether it's residential or senior housing come to town, they want to see redevelopment of properties, maybe an office building that's vacant at this point, they're going to let you know what opportunities they think would be good. And that's a perfect way to start, asking more questions, finding deals, or finding people to talk to.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. Even like, jumping into the same the same kind of ballpark. Like I've been reading a lot about like the tax code and stuff like that, and like write-offs and stuff. And guys, keep in mind, we're not CPAs and stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, like just what I've been reading, like I've been reading this book called Tax-Free Wealth, and by Tom Wheelwright, I believe. And like
Hmm.
it talks a lot about like write-offs and like the same type of thing with like the tax code altogether. Like they're gonna tell you, what like the government is trying to get done in terms of like creating jobs, creating housing. And if you do what the government is asking you to do and that information, like you'll be rewarded, through like the write-offs and stuff like that. And I feel like that's something that's really similar to like a path of progress kind of thing, like the city is trying to execute, this certain vision. And like if you're like buying in this certain area or something like that, like, you might be kind of rewarded, for being a part of that process to to make the city, what they're planning it to be. It's just interesting.
I couldn't agree more with that, 100%. And that's why insider trading is allowed in real estate and why you can do so well. You find out that information first.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, to be able to share that, with others, maybe doing different things in the same market, and like all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is like some really crazy stuff. Like,
Yeah.
that's value that's able to be spread out, to some of the people that you come across. So, Gaetano, what is your drive and your vision for the long term? I guess you could say both as an investor and a loan officer.
Good question. I mean, the one thing I'd say is I've been investing for, let's call it 2 years now, and a loan officer for full time the same amount of time.
Mhm.
It's tough to look. I write down every so often a 3, 5, 10-year plan. In regards though to, I'll start with the lending side. I want to continue to grow my personal business in the states I lend in: Connecticut, Jersey, Mass, Florida, Carolinas, and a few others. Want to build my team. I hired my cousin recently. He's working with me. He got licensed. He's going to become his own loan officer shortly as well, and continue to grow AFC Mortgage Group. That's the goal. We're hiring salespeople now, looking for more operation staff, and that's been great. We've had a great year, and we're looking to grow into that into 2022. Bring on an underwrite in-house, and continue to grow the company. In regards to real estate investing, right now we're at 11 units and under contract for 3 more. Looking to continue to buy opportunities in the student housing market that I'm in, and that's for the next 3 to 5 years. If we have to raise money, we will. We haven't had to yet, but if we find another deal, it's definitely going to be the next thing. We're out of capital, internally, so we're going to start looking to others to raise money. We've had soft conversations, seeing if investors would be interested in deals that we're putting together, and we've had good feedback. But over the 3 to 5 year span for investing, continue to focus on the market we're in, and then see where it goes from there. Who knows if I'm going to be doing student housing 5 to 10 years from now, or if I'll be in the same exact market. But I'm focusing on a deal by deal basis. I'm making the calls to owners, seeing if they're interested in selling, and hopefully continue to pull the trigger if it makes sense.
I love the vision, man. That's phenomenal. How has it kind of been like, starting to have those conversations like for partnering with people? I mean, like now, obviously, you have that like track record already, of like being able to show off like, hey, this is what we've done so far. Like, this is what the numbers look like, also being a loan officer and like, having the single family, like you, you have quite a bit to talk about, when you have that conversation. Like, how has that kind of been like, like, I guess, how would you kind of go about, like who you would go to, to potentially partner, and like how you would have that conversation, I guess.
So there's a couple of different ways I've gone about it. The first is through referrals of friends or business associates to other people in either commercial real estate or, let's say, financial advisors who have clients. Here's our portfolio. Here's the returns that we've had over the last, for me, it's been a year and a half. I can even leverage, let's say, my parents, my mom and dad own even more student housing than I do. Here's what they've seen in their returns. I'm buying in the exact same market. I'm looking at these deals. Here's how we underwrite, and here's what we project returns are going to be. Is this something that you'd be interested in investing in? Here's a breakdown of any fees we're charging. Here's a breakdown of the pro forma. And then, that's super soft. That's, are you interested? We've gone even further than looking at deals. We've been under contract, putting together an operating agreement and saying, okay, here's what the actual structure will look like. Are we paying a pref? And then after that pref, it's going to be split, let's say 60-40, 70-30, whatever the number is, up to a certain IRR, and then something beyond that. An important thing, though, is to know what kind of capital partners we want to partner with. Because like I said earlier, we're looking at every deal we look at, we want to hold for, let's say, 10 years. We want to make sure we're not going to partner with someone that wants to sell after 5 years, because that's just going to cause an issue at the 4-year mark when they want to sell, and we're going to hold on to it. And unless even if you had a buy-sell clause in there where we could buy it from them or buy them out, it's easier to partner with someone who has the same vision. And then, I deal with a lot of investor clients as well on the lending side. So I'm always asking them, how are you finding deals? How's it working? What kind of return hurdles are you looking for? Would you ever be interested in investing as a, LP? And had good feedback with that as well. Now, not everyone's accredited, but these are just conversations I'm having with, if they're friends or their clients, and see where that goes.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's wicked cool. Wow.
So the other thing too is, as we continue to have those conversations, if a deal comes up and we needed to raise money, I can then, have a CRM, could reach out to everybody that's been interested and say, hey, here's the deal. Here's the metrics on this deal specifically. We need 300,000 to be interested in investing 50.
Yeah.
I haven't had that happen yet, but that's probably the next step.
That's really great, man. There's something that I want to mention about that, actually, that I learned a couple days ago, actually. So we me and like some of the team I'm on, like the agent team, we went down to like the BP conference a couple days ago, and in one of the like the breakout like sessions, it was just like somebody talking or whatever. It was a class about raising money, and there was something that really popped for me that like I am definitely going to tell you is it's basically making like webinars and like just kind of showing off like what you did for your deals and stuff, and like basically it's a start to have some of those conversations. And it was talking about like the like kind of in like the syndication kind of realm, but like bits and pieces of it like you can use for a lot of other things. So basically like they were talking about it, like I said, in like the syndication space, to be able to like have people that are potentially interested in some of those webinars, and like to talk about the deals, and like who are we, like what kind of area is this, like like we're doing like student housing and stuff like that, or whatever your case is. And then be able to talk about it, and then in the SEC's eyes, like now you have I forget exactly what the word was. It was like some kind of relationship, like it's I forget what it was. You have to have like, was it like a satisfactory relationship? I don't know.
I know
Whatever.
what you're referencing. Yeah, where you have a prior relationship where you can then raise money from that person.
Exactly. And then, after that, like you can start to have those conversations because like these people now, in their eyes, and like everything's fine. But yeah, it was I'll send some of the stuff to you after the call, actually,
awesome.
some of my notes. But yeah, it was really huge, like what they were talking about. They would have like 2 or 3 webinars for, when it comes to like finding people to raise, or, when they're trying to raise capital, and just having some of these conversations. And like, then you can send the recorded webinar out to them, or like people that didn't join, and like just kind of have like a couple of these things, and start to have a lot of these conversations. And it really stuck out, so I thought it was pretty cool.
That's awesome that you made the BP conference too.
It was a lot of fun. It was a blast, man. It was I learned a lot from it. A lot of reflecting and change and things that I have to do for what I want.
Was there people from all over? Did you meet a lot of people from all over the country?
There was, yeah. There was like I talked to like a couple agents from California. There was like a guy down in Mississippi, I think. There was people just from like all across the nation. If you get a chance, man, like I highly recommend checking it out. This was kind of like my first time doing one of these like conference type of things, and it was totally worth it.
That is awesome. I was looking into it. Yeah, it looked phenomenal.
Yeah. I can't wait for 2022s to come out, whenever that is. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was something that really stuck out to me, to be able to, like, you jump on a call with, who knows, maybe like 10, 20, 30 people, whatever it is. And then you have that conversation once, and just kind of like show people what you're about and everything. And then, set up like a follow-up thing, and like send it out to all these people. And, just be able to kind of have a lot of conversations in one, more in like the raising capital kind of space. It was pretty cool. Let's see here. Ooh, what do you consider to be the biggest variable to expand your portfolio or your clientele as a loan officer, whichever?
So, the question with that, the biggest variable, is that also the biggest hurdle? Because if looking at it like that, I feel like it comes down to finding the deals. If you're able to
Yeah.
find the deals from the investment side, then everything else will fall into place. And it's funny. Sometimes I'll find smaller deals, 2 to 4 units, that don't fit my criteria. They're not in the market that I buy, but they still make sense. That's great for me too, because I could pass them off to clients of mine and do the lending side and help them with that,
Yeah.
even if I'm not buying the actual property. So finding deals is the start to everything.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, man. Like nothing really happens if you don't have a deal, right?
100%. I mean, the marketing, the building the network, the running numbers on properties, I'm not worried about those. Those will come. The more conversations you have, you'll grow your network, and hopefully, you find deals through those conversations as well.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I know you mentioned earlier you were doing some cold calling.
Yeah, so I use prop stream. I don't know if you've heard of
Hey,
it.
yep.
And I do direct to I look up whoever the LLC is that owns the property, or if it's someone's name. I'll Google their name, try and skip trace it, and then make calls. Or I haven't yet done anything with letters, but I found a couple of the deals that we are one on our contract when we've closed was just from calling the owner directly.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in that, man. I started kind of getting into that a lot more recently. And it
Hmm.
just I mean, the way that I look at it is like it just I mean, this is just kind of my opinion, and like for me personally, it's what's kind of worked is like cold calling just makes a lot more sense from like a time perspective, from
Yep.
a money perspective, and or yeah, I guess like the amount of time that you spend like on each, potential lead or contact, to get that answer, yes or no. And then I guess from like a follow-up standpoint as well, it just it just kind of makes more sense than direct mail. And that's the thing is like I totally prefer direct mail, and like that's what I was doing before. But like because I would send out maybe like I think like 2 to 300 mailers at a time or something, and it would cost probably like $300 or $400,
Yeah.
and like you don't really know, if these people are getting it, like if they're throwing it in a drawer or something like that, maybe for later. Like you don't really know what that answer is unless you get like an instant response. You could be waiting like 6 months or something like before somebody reaches out. And like, I don't know, it just when I started cold calling, like one, it was a lot cheaper because
Yeah.
you weren't paying for stamps and like envelopes and like getting these things like printed up and stuff like that. Spending the time like stuffing the envelopes and stuff. At least the way I was doing it, which there's probably a
Mhm.
lot more efficient ways, but
Yeah.
whatever. And then from the cost, or yeah, from the cost standpoint as well. I mean, to buy a list exactly, from PropStream, a
Yep.
very, specific list on there, and then send it out somewhere to get skip traced. I use like a VA on like Fiverr, and it costs like,
Yep.
like $10 to have them skip trace like hundreds and hundreds of contacts.
Oh,
You know,
no way.
yeah. I'll have to send you some stuff too, man. It's there's one person on Fiverr I've been using in particular, and he's been great. Um, but yeah, and like so for like $5 or $10 plus, I don't know, like the 99 a month for prop stream, or like however you would
Yeah.
like divide that, or what have you. You have like a skip trace list that you can literally just call, and then you'll get an answer usually instantly. Whether it's like somebody like, oh, like maybe, let's figure it out, follow up with them in like, a month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is. Somebody telling you to go pound sand,
Yeah.
and like I feel like you just kind of know a lot faster for a lot cheaper, and
Hmm.
then in the amount of time that you get that answer, it could be like a 10 or 20-second phone call and you're already on to the next one. Bang out like 50 of these things or something like that. And like, I don't know, it just like for me, it just kind of made more sense in terms of like a cost perspective, time and efficiency. And then even if you threw like Do you use a dialer by any chance
I
for
don't
calling?
know.
Oh man, it's if you get a second, it's a dialer changes everything. It's basically like you would upload your skip trace list
Yep.
onto the dialer, and then literally like you could sit back, press the button to like, start dialing, and it would bring up like a property card. It would say like the name, like the property address, phone number, um, and then it would be ringing through because sometimes there'll be like different cell phone numbers and stuff like that.
Yep.
um it'll literally just automatically ring through all the cell phone numbers, and then like, if there's no numbers or whatever, it just goes to the next one. And it's
What
like,
dialer do you use?
I use Mojo
Oh,
dialer.
yep. I've heard of it. Yep.
Yeah, it's been great. I think there's better ones out there, because I mean you could dial like one. The one I have is like a single line, so like it'll
Yep.
dial like one person at a time and then move on to the next. It has like a 3-line dialer too, where like it'll dial 3 people at the same time, and then you'll talk to the first person that answers, and then the other two, it'll drop like a voicemail or something saying like, oh, the connection's bad, I'll call you back in a second, so then you can call them back like right after. And it just literally, man, it just automates the heck out of everything. And like you literally just sit back and like let it go, and then you just go through your script or like you're talking and stuff, and it's a game changer. I
That is
highly
awesome.
recommend it.
I'm looking into that now. I'm not calling that many owners. Probably my market's probably 300, let's say, the
Yeah,
same 300. But if I were to expand or try to just hunt more deals at 100%, I'm gonna look into it regardless.
yeah, honestly, man, it's really really cool. It's changed a lot for me. All of a sudden you get through like 50 people and like, yeah, probably a little less than an hour. And you know and then like I was thinking about when I was writing mailers, I was like, I can write maybe like 20, 30 of these in an hour. I'm like,
Yeah.
then you got to go get the stamps and drop it off at the post office. And I don't know, it's whatever works for everybody, you know what I mean? Everybody's different, but the cold calling definitely works.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it.
you know um so man, ooh, what is your best piece of advice to new investors that want to start and manage their rental portfolio?
So the first thing 100% is get started right away. The you can be on Biggerpockets all day long. You can look at as many blog posts and articles you want. I would start underwriting deals. Look at multifamilies in your market. I'd start with a 2 to 4 unit property. I'd buy it with an FHA loan, put down 3.5%, live in one unit and rent out the other, 1 to 3 units, however big the property is. That's the best way to get started, I think, with investing. You own the property, your property manager, you go through a closing process. You start to understand a little bit about the financing. To get started, that is 100%. I tell all my friends, if you want to start building a portfolio, start that way. With only 3.5% out of your pocket, it's also a cheap way to do it. You don't have to come up with 20, 25% for a down payment.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. That's absolutely golden. That's like literally the best way on planet Earth to get started, and
It
yeah.
agree 100%. In Biggerpockets has the the term house hacking for it.
Yeah.
So it's hands down the best way to get going.
Yeah.
And to
100%, man.
do so, you got to have conversations with agents. What is this going to rent for each unit? You got to underwrite a lot of deals in the market. Make sure that it's going to cash flow, hopefully, or at least lower your living expense to where you're paying close to nothing. And the more of deals that you underwrite, the more deals that you see, the more offers you put in. Eventually, something's going to get accepted, and that's the best way to go about it.
Of course. And when they need a loan officer, there's one, a great one right across the screen from me at the moment. So
That is awesome. Yeah, exactly. Those are my favorite loans to work on because I know that somebody's buying this for, they're looking to grow their portfolio.
Yep.
They're working with a client who's going to be a repeat client, who's going to buy more property, and good for them if they keep doing that. By the time they start at 25, by the time they're 35, they'll be worth at least $1 million.
Yeah, totally.
Their portfolio and net worth. I mean, their net worth. So.
Yeah, exactly. And especially to be able to see it from like your eyes as well, being an investor already, and like what's going on, like on a whole nother level, and like
Yeah.
just be able to kind of to see that and be able to guide them, in the way that totally makes sense for what they're looking for, you know.
I think
Crazy.
about it all the time, by the way, Kyle. If you buy it, if you start at 25, you buy it with FHA, you buy a 3 unit and it cash flows, wherever you're on the USA cash flows. And then every year you buy another investment property that's positively cash flowing. By the time you're 35, you're going to own 10. They're all positively cash flowing. First ones, you had 10 years of equity pay down. Maybe there's been appreciation as well. I mean, it's slow, but there's no way you're not going to be a millionaire after 10 years or after 20 years. So it's a slow game, but to see someone start, it's great because, long term, they're going to be in great shape.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree with you, man. And like, I'm sure, you can kind of see from, both your experience as an investor and like your W2 job as well, just the power of even getting that first property, and like just to be able to like leverage equity and like, yeah, exactly. Like, um, maybe get some appreciation in there, like raising rents and like the taxes and everything. And, all the stuff they talk about on the BP podcast.
100%. The first one, you get the ball rolling. Then, if it goes up in value, you pull out either do cash out refinance, you put a home equity line of credit. Now you have access to more capital. You go buy your second one. It's a snowball effect.
Yeah, I know that's phenomenal, man. I mean, like, what other kind of asset class, can you grow like this? Honestly, like, you know,
Why real estate? It's because you can use leverage and insider trading is allowed. You're going to have
yeah,
if
it is.
let's say BlackRock, Blackstone, any of these, Tishman, Inspire, they wanted to start investing in student rentals. They'd have a tough time competing in my market, which is a smaller market. They could probably beat me up at Penn State, Ohio State, and build large developments. But the houses, single family houses, duplexes, near the bars, near the stadiums, near, other attractions. That's all on information where you have to be local to the market. And that's why real estate's great.
Yeah, that's huge, especially like you said, some of these like much smaller markets that are, outside some of these big cities that, you can really get some gems out there, and they're a lot less congested than, some of these bigger cities.
100%. And some of those bigger names have to cut bigger checks, where we don't have, if you play in that space below 5 million, you're probably not competing with that, big players like that.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And even like still, being able to execute that, student housing strategy, like, it's not like they're like 50 miles away from, some of these colleges and stuff. They're probably still, within a pretty decent distance, still close to some of these schools and stuff. Like it's not like it's like wicked far away,
Mm-hmm.
a little outside, outskirts of these cities and stuff, and still pretty close. Um, do you read? And what is your favorite business, investing, or real estate book that you would recommend to anyone?
So my two favorite real estate books. The first one is The Real Estate Game by Bill Forbeau. I might have butchered that last name, but that was one of the first real estate books I read and love it to this day. Recommend anyone interested in investing to start with that. I mean, obviously, Rich Dad Poor Dad was like the first book I read in regards to thinking of assets and growing my net worth. But
Yeah.
from a real estate perspective, I love The Real Estate Game. And then this past year, I read Risk Game. It's an autobiography on Francis Greenberger. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I don't think so.
Great book. He made a lot of his money buying apartment buildings in Manhattan. I want to say it was at the 70s or 80s, and turning them into condos and selling off the units. And he's done a ton of deals in New York, in other cities as well. And then I just read the autobiography of William Zeckendorf. That was a great book as well.
Those sound like some
So
really cool ones, man. I'll have to check them out.
the autobiographies are great to see how some of these big players, guys who started 30, 40 years ago, kind of made their bones.
Yeah.
Francis Greenberger was awesome, and the Zeckendorf one was phenomenal as well.
Yeah. I know those sound really good. There was I bought it was like an autobiography of Andrew Carnegie that I bought a long time ago that I've wanted to read. And like, you're right, just to kind of see, literally like see the story of some of these guys that have done like some really crazy things, and just kind of see the path that they went, and like even be able to take some lessons and tips from that, just from like being entertained, as well as, just kind of learning their story, to be able to apply to your situation, to like your friends, family, like clients, just be able to pull some of those very valuable principles and use them to today, because like a lot of them are still applicable, to some degree or another.
Yep. There's actually an autobiography, or not autobiography, a regular one I'm reading right now. It's called Titan. It's on John D. Rockefeller. Don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a great read. I'm probably a fourth of the way in right now, but it's been a really good read.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm definitely going to check all those books out. Guys, check those out. They're probably phenomenal. Oh, man. So, Gaetano, I could talk to you for a very, very long time, man, but we'll kind of keep it short for today.
I appreciate that, Kyle.
yeah, definitely, man. But yeah, so where on like social media and stuff can you be found? Like your investor and loan officer contact info. Where can people hit you up?
I'm on Instagram at G Ciambriello, and then my email is my first name, Gaetano group, GROUP at AFC Alpha Frank Charlie mortgagegroup.net. That would be the best way to get a hold of me.
Beautiful. Guys, go reach out to Mr. Gaetano here if you need a mortgage or refinance or anything.
Even questions on investment properties. Hey, I'm 23 years old. I want to get started in real estate investing. I have $10,000 saved up. What do I do? Let's get the ball rolling.
All right, guys, that concludes our Creating Wealth podcast episode for today. I want to thank every single person that has listened this far. It really means a lot to know that people can learn from me and with me as we build wealth together. Hopefully you can take home at least one thing from this podcast that will improve your life just a little bit. If you could, please check me out on social. That's at Kyle Curtin Real Estate on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm on Biggerpockets. Until next time, let's build together.